Hello there, new player, and welcome to the wonderful world of Guild Wars 2. If you clicked on this video, you likely have some questions regarding the game, which don't worry, many people do. So to maximize your knowledge and minimize the likelihood for you to ask the same questions on Reddit, I have made this video to explain everything your heart desires. For those of you who don't know me, I've played the game for 12,000 hours and basically have everything there is to get in this game. So what I'm trying to say is if you follow this advice, it will help you maximize your enjoyment and efficiency in the game, speed up your personal goals, and hopefully get rid of some of those nagging feelings if you made the right decisions or not. For this video, I will assume that you have all of the Guild Wars 2 content unlocked for your account. However, if you are missing some pieces, this will give you an idea of what content to buy in the future should you play this game long term. First things first, let's talk about gold. Gold in Guild Wars 2 is both easy and hard to come by depending on what content suits you most. I'll start with the open world and we will get into more advanced options as time goes on. For a new player, gold is achieved simply through gathering and world bosses. The drops you get are not raw gold and they come in the forms of blue, green, and yellow unidentified gear. For simplicity's sake, you can simply sell these on the trading post for gold. The vials of blood, bones, scales, totems, and so on are also sold on the trading post for gold. This is simply the easiest way to build up your initial nest egg in the game. Everything the game gives you, you sell it either over time by listing it or selling it instantly on the trading post. This includes all of your gathering. The various mid-tier ore like platinum or mid-tier wood like hardwood are valuable even though the game has been out for a while. The Guild Wars 2 economy is largely very stable and these mid-tier materials are often valuable because people are too lazy to farm them themselves. You can get these materials by gathering or by salvaging gear that is sub-level 80. So during your leveling process, you can salvage this stuff and sell the mats instead of just selling the items outright. Once you do hit level 80, you will have more options that are far more efficient. The best time to gold investment is through the daily and weekly reward system known as the Wizard's Vault. Raw gold, material bags, laurels, and mystic coins are your best gold to astral acclaim value, and these reset on a 90-day cycle. You also get 1 gold per day from finishing your daily Wizard's Vault objectives, so make sure you do those as well. Additionally, you will now have access to Fractals of the Mist. Fractals are instanced 5-man dungeon content, which has the best gold to time investment on the daily reset at the highest levels. You start at low tier Fractals 1 through 25, which have no requirements. As you climb the tiers, you will require agony infusions to not die, and to slot in agony infusions into your gear, you will need ascended gear. I will cover gear a little more later, but you can also get ascended weapons and armor from the Wizard's Vault on a 90-day reset cycle. Strike missions and raids are also available. Strike missions are easier than raids and the most profitable to run daily, specifically the Icebrood Saga Fast 5. You get eternal ice shards from these strikes, which can be converted into volatile magic and then into materials which can then be sold. Raids are profitable more directly as they give you raw gold and are not much more challenging depending on the raid wing. The easiest wings to start with are Wings 1 and Wings 4. The raid content requires you to pay attention to mechanics to some degree, and there are many communities available to assist with raid trainings if this is content that you are interested in. World vs. World and structured PvP also give you a decent amount of raw gold in addition to valuable materials like Memories of Battle and Shards of Glory, which can help you get gold to optimize your PvE equipment. So don't be shy to jump into these game modes when they become available to your account. There are also advanced ways to make gold like crafting legendaries and selling them and trading post flipping. However, those would be better suited for standalone videos. It is worth noting that Generation 3 legendary weapons, also known as Aurene legendaries, are the most profitable items to craft and sell if you enjoy this gold making technique. As for content optimization, the fast farming website is available for you to find out the best use of your materials, currency conversions, reward tracks, and so on, and a link to this resource is in the description. Next up, let's talk about picking your race and your class. I'll start with race, and of the 5 races in Tyria, there is no definitive advantage over any other one. They do have racial skills and racial elite skills, however, these skills are largely underpowered in comparison to the actual class skills available. The only thing race changes is the appearance and starting location. Each race can get to each other race's starting zone through portals in Lion's Arc, which you can get through the portal in your home city. So if you are playing with friends and you choose a different race, there is an easy way to meet up with each other. One note about race is that if you are interested in the fashion aspect of the game, the Azura and Char have a little bit of problems when it comes to showcasing different armor types. The Char sometimes have clipping issues with certain gear sets, and the Azura are just kind of tiny, so keep that in mind. Both of these races have racial armors that look really cool, but I would recommend the Sylvari, the Norn, and the Human are the best races for showing off your fashion skills if you intend on doing fashion wars. Outside of race, the classes in Guild Wars 2 are largely homogenized. As free to play or while leveling, you will be stuck to the core class, meaning you won't have access to elite specializations. I will cover what those are and how to get them a little bit later, but you will likely only play your core class while you are leveling. The healers, support, DPS, and other build versions are typically reliant on an elite specialization, but as I said, the classes are homogenized, meaning they are all capable of performing any task. Some are more optimal than others, however, they can all fulfill the role of completing open world and entry-level instance content without too much optimization. Additionally, if you are partially through the leveling experience or find that you have lost touch with the class you initially picked, good news. Guild Wars 2 is one of the most alt-friendly games there is. Outside of unlocking the world and leveling, you really lose nothing by re-rolling your character. Equipment of ascended quality can be transferred among characters of the same weight class, and legendary equipment can be duplicated across your account from the legendary armory. It is entirely possible and encouraged to eventually fully unlock a character of every class. So if you're getting bored with one, there's no reason to not start another. With that being said, the meta at the time of recording highly favors the Revenant, the Guardian, the Necromancer, the Mesmer, the Ranger, and the Engineer. With Warrior and Thief underperforming at the endgame level, Elementalist is entirely viable, though it is more complicated than the others to play at the highest levels. You will likely be fine through leveling and general open world content, but to get the most out of the class, you will have a higher skill ceiling than the other classes. The Thief and the Warrior are both very fun to play, and they work out fine in general gameplay. It's just they are a little bit on the tail end of current balance. Additionally, every class has at least one build that is good at solo open world content, even at the highest levels. These builds can be found at Lord Hyzen's YouTube channel. They often require specific gear or stat sets. However, if you use a level 80 booster, the celestial gear that you get is often correct for many classes in the open world PvE environment. A link to the video discussing open world Immortal solo builds is also in the description below. Speaking of gear, let's talk about the different gear and stats and where to acquire them in Guild Wars 2. The gearing system in Guild Wars 2 is vertical to a limit. Once you hit Ascended gear, congratulations, you have the strongest gear in the game. Obtaining this equipment is significantly more expensive than its exotic counterparts, however, it is required for higher level fractals only. The stats on both Ascended and Legendary weapons are the same, and the only difference is that you can stat swap legendary items at will, while the Ascended items take a little bit of extra effort. You really should not focus on gear until you hit level 80, and then you should buy exotic gear off of the trading post. Every class has a functioning power damage build, condition damage build, and support build. For general gameplay, I recommend power damage in the form of Berserker's gear. This will set you up for a proper stat set for at least one meta build on every class. For light armor, the cheapest Berserker gear option is a named exotic set called Zeds. For medium, it is Nika's, and for heavy, it is Divana's. For runes, your options are either Rune of the Dragon Hunter or Rune of the Scholar. If these are a bit too pricey initially, you can keep the set of 6 runes that come with the named armors until you can replace them all. It is important to have 6 matching runes on your gear. For weapons, there are Condi and power focused weapons, while some classes have weapons that can do either. Just follow with Berserker stats, which are power, precision, and ferocity for your primary weapon set if you are running power gear. The reason I recommend power gear is because some core terrain items are unaffected by conditions, and every class has an effective meta power build, and the other gear sets like Vipers, Harriers, or Minstrels, or any other stat set can be acquired through playing World vs. World. This is also the best and cheapest way to get matching exotic rings, trinkets, and an amulet. Moving on to Ascended gear, this can be done a number of different ways, exclusively in different game types. We'll start with armor. As I stated earlier, armor is most easily acquired through the Wizard's Vault. There are 3 pieces of armor that can be exchanged for Astral Acclaim every 90 days. These armor boxes are especially valuable since they are stat selectable, so you can get some of the more tedious stat combinations very easily. Fractals of the Mist at higher tiers often drop Ascended armor boxes of a particular stat set, and you could use the Stat Swap Mystic Forge recipe to effectively change these stats to whatever you need. All but a few stat types are available, from buying the appropriate insignia off of the trading post to use it in the recipe. PvP and World vs. World have their own Ascended armor versions that can be collected. These are oftentimes precursors to the PvP and World vs. World legendary armors. There are 2 sets of Ascended armor that can be acquired through PvE through the Legendary Armor Collection, which does require Raid Wings 1 through 4 and some open world tasks. If you spend some time doing instant content, you shouldn't have any problem getting these armor sets. Now for weapons, these are acquired in a similar fashion using the Wizard's Vault and Fractal drops. However, each specialization also has an Ascended weapon collection that can be completed to receive this weapon type of their specialization. For instance, the Mirage specialization for the Mesmer gets an axe as its weapon, and there is a collection that will reward you with an Ascended version of the Mirage axe. PvP, World vs. World, and raids in PvE all give you the option of exchanging gold and the game mode currency for an Ascended weapon or armor chest, and this is often the fastest and easiest way to get these items. Outside of this, weapons and armor can also be made using the Guild Wars 2 crafting system, though that takes a little extra work, and it's just easier to do it this way. For rings, trinkets, and backpack, Living World Season 3, Season 4, and Fractals of the Mist are the best places to get these items. There are various collections that reward trinkets, though they are not stat selectable. Getting them through the Living World seasons or Fractals is the best way to do so, since they are all able to be attuned and infused, which allows you to climb higher level Fractals, which gives you a better chance of getting Ascended gear box drops for your alternate characters or alternate builds. With that said, now it's time for a big question. What do you do when you hit level 80? Hitting level 80 in Guild Wars 2 is largely the start of the game. It really isn't. There are plenty of things you can do and enjoy while leveling. However, there is a large amount of content that is opened up after you hit level 80. Pop-ups galore about the Wizard's Vault, raids, fractals, everything in between. So here's my advice to a new player or a returning player who is feeling a little bit lost after reaching max level. First and foremost, you want to work through Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. If you are not a story purist, I would start with Path of Fire to unlock mounts. However, in either case, your goal is to get hero points to unlock your elite specializations. You will have plenty of hero points through Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire, and End of Dragons to unlock all of them, so don't feel pressured on which one to start with, just whatever one you think is cool. Additionally, from this point, you will be focusing on account unlocks. Mastery points, mounts, and so on are all account bound and usable by your alternate characters. So if you find yourself getting bored of your class, you can re-roll without feeling like you are starting all the way over. In fact, making new characters and unlocking their specializations, gearing up their different builds, and so on is an important part of the endgame. Trying out different healers, DPS, and boon support roles in the various content is a big part of the replayability of the endgame, and having multiple characters and roles covered will make joining and forming groups significantly easier. Speaking of joining groups, getting involved with a guild that has regular community events, trainings, or groups will drastically increase your enjoyment of the game. This goes for PvE content like raids and strikes and fractals, organized world vs. world groups, and even SPVP teams. Finding a group of friends that plays when you do and enjoys the same content you do will help you learn these systems and enjoy the game significantly more. In PvE, the endgame content are raids, fractals, and strike missions. Each game mode has their own challenge modes, and in some cases, legendary modes. Largely, the reason for doing these content types is to assist with crafting legendary items. Legendary items are stored on your account in the legendary armory and can be duplicated onto any character of your account. So the ultimate goal is to have a legendary for every available item. Following that, there are a ton of achievements, collections, skins to acquire and take your personal fashion to the next level. But how do you talk about a live service game without talking about the cash shop? The next thing I will be covering will be the gem store. The gem store in Guild Wars 2 is entirely cosmetic or convenience based. You can choose to spend real money on gems or convert them using the gold to gems converter. There are a significant number of items that will absolutely change your gameplay. Here is my opinion on the must-buy items from the gem store, along with some honorable mentions. First up, you have infinite salvage kits. These are absolutely game-changing, being able to free up inventory space and often make gold while doing so. Copper, silver, and runecrafter salvage kits are 100% worth the gems if you plan on playing long-term, not just for profit, but for convenience. The infinite gathering tools, which often go on sale, are a must-have, at least on your main character. So buying at least one set of infinite gathering tools will ensure that you can collect everything in your path without having to have spare sets on hand. I personally always choose the glyph of volatile magic so I can passively collect it as I play the game. The rechargeable teleport to friend is a permanent version of a consumable item, but this makes meeting up with groups significantly easier. Additionally, it can be used to teleport to the end of jumping puzzles for the PvE weekly Wizards Vault. Those all, in my opinion, are must-buys. However, there are items that I feel are highly recommended. These are things like shared inventory slots, which help you with transferring items or utilizing things like these salvage kits across multiple characters without having to transfer them. Equipment templates are also very nice to have, which makes swapping builds easier. You don't need to buy the build template expansion because those can be easily acquired through the Wizards Vault on a 90-day reset. You just need the equipment template. And lastly, there are seasonal items. The most important one is known as the Candy Corn Gobbler, which is available during Halloween, which gives you a ton of buffs for trading in candy corn. This is valuable to capitalize on the various bonus weekends that happen and can significantly increase reward track progress or experience gain as you are playing. And that's it. Everything else in the cash shop is cosmetic and up to personal preference. Bag slot expansions, bank slot expansions, and so on are all based on how much stuff you intend on collecting. The last thing we will talk about are add-ons and the support websites for Guild Wars 2. The first item is the Guild Wars 2 wiki, which is super useful, very complete, and can be accessed by typing in /wiki into the in-game chat. The fast farming website, as I previously mentioned, for all of your farming and currency converting needs. Blish HUD add-on, which is an overlay that helps you from everything to finding items on your account, to crafting, to map completion and pathing optimizations. Guild Wars 2 Efficiency, which is a great general account tracking website. Nexus for Guild Wars 2, which is an add-on manager that assists with DLLs like Arc DPS. And of course, the Discord communities, joining Hardstuck, Skein Gang, Gamers Haven, The Void Lounge, Raid Academy, or any other number of larger Guild Wars 2 community discords will definitely give you a forum to get assistance in and out of game. As I close things out, I want to say that Guild Wars 2 is a very casual game, and there is no need to feel rushed or feel like you are missing out as you navigate through your experience. It can be fun and casual, or grindy and hardcore, all depending on how you want to play. What is important is you do the things you enjoy. I hope this video helps to answer some of your questions, and I want to thank you for watching. A big thanks to all of my subscribers, and a special thanks to all of my members who support the channel. Thanks again, everybody, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.